It's far too easy for someone to just start a YouTube channel and claim that they're an expert in the stock market. For me, I started investing in the stock market in 1998, and it took me 20 years before I was confident enough in my skills to be able to share them with others on GetErk.com, and an additional 2 years before I even started my YouTube channel. If you're new to the stock market, it doesn't really matter how old you are. If you're just getting started, I know exactly where you're coming from. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the many mistakes I've made in the stock market since I started investing in 1998. The 90s were an interesting time. In addition to the advent of the internet, we actually got legislation that freed up the ability to be able for retail investors like me or anyone else to invest in stocks. Prior to the internet, you used to have to establish a relationship with a broker, and then you'd have to call them on the phone and tell them that you wanted to buy a stock, and they'd get it at whatever price they told you they'd get it at. Because of the internet, online brokers like E-Trade rose up and allowed private retail investors like myself to be able to take control of their own financial futures for the low cost of a flat $15 a trade. That's right, no matter how many shares or how few shares you bought, you had to pay $15 each time you went in or came out of the market. In 1998, I was an avid 21-year-old and I had scrounged together $1,000 that I'd saved up from my job at a video game retailer where I got paid a whopping $4.62, which, believe it or not, was significantly better than minimum wage. Yes, I really am that old. And I had the vision of taking that $1,000, becoming a day trader, and having myself made millions of dollars by the time I was 22 years old. And there's mistake number one. What many people who are new to the markets don't realize is that more than 50% of all people who try to day trade fail within the first year, and more than 80% fail within the first 2 or 3 years. Only a very small margin break even, and out of those, even a smaller amount make it profitable. But there I was with my $1,000, and I was determined to turn that $1,000 into 10x, 20x, 100x in just a matter of days or weeks. So I thought I was smart. I was going to outthink the markets. And one of the things I loved investing in, particularly at that time, was gold, specifically gold miners. And no, I didn't go for the best of breed gold miners. I went for the ones that cost a couple bucks a share, because that way I could buy more shares. And with more shares, it would only take a few bucks of profit before I'd be making tons of money. Does this sound familiar to you? One of the biggest mistakes that new investors make is thinking that it's about the number of shares they buy. But if you're buying a stock that costs very little money, there's likely a reason that it is that cheap. In other words, it's far from best of breed. And that's what happened to me. I wasn't buying Barrick Gold or its equivalent. I was buying the crappy junior gold miners that were about to go out of business. So once I got started with my $15 commission, and let's just take a break and talk about exactly how crazy that $15 commission was. I had a $1,000 portfolio, which meant that $15 commission was a 1.5% hit each time I got in and got out. Because of that outrageous commission, it made it so that I wanted to buy bigger quantities every time I did it, so that it would be worth it, and it would reduce the overall commission cost in terms of number of shares. But what that just ended up meaning is I put more than half my money into a failing gold mine. And after a few weeks of underperformance, yes, weeks, I wasn't a long-term investor back then, I liquidated that investment and lost about 20% of the portfolio from the beginning to the end. So now I had $800. And this is 1998. Every single tech stock, every single internet stock, everything with .com on it was just exploding to the upside. Again, does this sound familiar to where we were in 2021? It does to me, but at that time, I didn't realize that we were heading into a bubble burst. I never actually increased the value of my portfolio by a significant margin in order to be able to day trade or retire from that point, but I had grown it really big up until 2000 and 2001, where the stocks I was invested in, even quality stocks like Intel, collapsed during the dot-com boom. When the bust happened, it started just taking everything out. Naturally, I panicked and I sold and then tried to buy back in at lower levels and then sold again, taking losses and tried to buy back in at lower levels, eventually destroying the entire account. So after a couple years of putting my nose to the grindstone, I'd saved up about $5,000 that I was going to put in the stock market, and this time I knew better. I knew that tech stocks could bust or boom, so I decided that I was going to have a more diversified account and got into the market right about 2005. And yes, the 2008 great financial crisis was right around the corner. And again, I thought I could outsmart the market. So rather than buying the best in breeds, I kept shooting for those little ones, the small ones that I thought nobody was paying attention to. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, instead of buying stocks like Nike, I was trying to buy stocks like UnderArmour. So here you have Nike, the best in breed, always outperforms, always successful, and I go for UnderArmour. UnderArmour always underperformed. They always screwed up, they always missed their earnings quarter, and no matter how cheap the stock got, it was not inexpensive because it always could get cheaper. And then the great financial crisis hit and I got blown out yet again. And why was that? I did the same thing that I did in the dot-com bust. I tried to take my money out by timing the market and then get back in at a lower level and then got panicked out again and kept doing that until there was no money left. One of my only strengths is that when I do get punched in the face by the stock market or the crypto market is that I'll keep coming back and let it punch me in the face over and over again until I finally figure out how to dodge that punch. Naturally, I'll make all new mistakes, but I won't make the same ones. I'll keep taking what I've learned and adjust my style. Since 2008, I figured out how to invest for the long term. I figured out how to pick the best in breed. I figured out that I should never time the markets. And I figured out that I should buy and sell in stages so that I could take advantage of market volatility. When the average investor wants to time the markets, what they want to do is sell their entire portfolio at the top and then buy it all back at the bottom. But the problem is we don't know where the top is and we don't know where the bottom is. So instead of doing that with my entire portfolio, I just sell some of a position when it's near a top and then I buy some of it back when it gets near a bottom. If it keeps going higher, I'll sell a little bit more. If it keeps going lower, I'll buy a little bit more. So in essence, I am timing the market, but the reality is I'm not trying to gamble. I'm not betting it all on the line because it could always go higher or lower. And also, there's no rush. Since there aren't any commissions anymore, you don't have to go all in. In fact, most brokers offer fractional share trading, so you don't even have to buy an entire share. You can just buy the quantity you want. Yet another lesson is that you don't let the market shake you out. When there is a big market sell-off, the best thing to do is just to hang on. Hopefully, you either have cash on the sidelines in your portfolio or you're making extra money that you can put toward the market so that you can buy more as the market continues to sell off. As long-term investors with a 20-year time horizon, you can't allow yourself to get confused when you watch CNBC and listen to somebody talking about their short-term or long-term horizons. If you pay close attention, many of the people who say long-term on CNBC have a time horizon of 12 to 18 months for long-term. By comparison, the smallest time frame I look at when I'm making an investment is 5 years. So I'm looking at a minimum of 60 months to their maximum 18 months. I find that the best way to beat the market consistently is to just be patient. The market is trying to scare you with short-term movements. If you can focus on long-term, in other words, buy the stocks of quality companies and ETFs and just hang on, you'll beat the market. And eventually those quality companies and ETFs will increase in value. Sure, it might take a couple years or even a couple of decades, but that's the point of being a long-term investor. Or as you've heard me say many times before, never make a short-term decision about a long-term investment. You should never make an emotional decision about something that you're in for the long term. And one of the best rules that I have to prevent myself from making emotional decisions is this: only buy on red days and only sell on green days. If you can only buy when the market is selling off, you will not FOMO into an asset. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, please hit like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for me, please leave them in the comments below. Also, check out some of my other videos here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.